Pak Sulat. Pukul 8.30 sampai dengan pukul 10 panel Asia FTA dengan translator Bapak Lastio dan Bapak Pumpida. Pukul 10 sampai pukul 10.15 penutup. Sebelum kita menginjak ke acara berikutnya, kita akan melakukan sesi foto bersama dengan semua peserta dan para narasumber. Silakan kepada Mbak Esta untuk mengambil gambar para peserta dan narasumber. Terima kasih.
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu. Saya akan mengambil gambar 2 kali. Kepada Bapak dan Ibu yang mungkin belum menyalakan kamera, bisa dinyalakan dahulu kameranya. Oke, baik, saya mulai sesi foto yang pertama. Satu, dua, sebentar. 1, 2, 3. Sekali lagi. 1, 2, 3. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu, kembali ke Ibu Linta.
Terima kasih Mbak Esta. Untuk mempersingkat waktu, kita lanjutkan ke sesi acara berikutnya, yaitu presentasi yang akan disampaikan oleh Bapak Pumpida. Kepada Bapak Pumpida, waktu kami persilahkan.
Terima kasih Bu Intan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. For the speakers, the English speakers, please allow me to speak in Bahasa Indonesia because most of the audience would be Indonesians anyway. So it will reduce the amount of translating. So I would like to present the presentations, however, in English, but I will explain it in Bahasa Indonesia. Can everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ya, pada hari ini, pagi hari ini saya sangat senang sekali nih kita bisa bergabung lagi di seri webinar bersama dengan Fintech Academy Singapore dan RGV dan juga Indo Event sebagai penyelenggara. Saya ucapkan terima kasih atas kerjasamanya kepada semua pihak. Untuk pagi hari ini kita akan berbicara tentang digital healthcare challenges in Indonesia, atau dalam bahasa Indonesia kira-kira adalah tantangan-tantangan di dalam membangun yang namanya pelayanan kesehatan secara digital. Ya. Yang harus kita lihat di dalam konteks membangun satu digital service sebetulnya adalah budayanya, karena ketika komunitas yang akan kita masukkan dan memperkenalkan yang namanya digital solution itu harus kita pahami dulu budaya yang ada di dalam ekosistem tersebut. Nah, ketika kita belum paham, ya pasti kita akan mendapatkan berbagai macam tantangan-tantangan yang kemudian akan sulit kita mitigasi secara risiko gitu ya. Nah, tapi kalau kemudian kita paham dari awalnya, nah ini akan menjadi sesuatu yang istilahnya justru mendapatkan nilai tambah. Nah, di Indonesia sendiri sebetulnya untuk digital kultur di dunia healthcare sebetulnya sudah eksis ya. Basis-basis teknologi digitalisasi di dunia kesehatan itu, dan bahkan penggunaannya sudah hampir bisa dikatakan di seluruh vaskes itu menggunakan basis-basis peralatan modern dengan teknologi digital. Namun memang pada dasarnya implementasi peralatan itu dengan teknologi penggunaannya ya, maksud saya secara kultural itu belum mature ya, belum kemudian menunjukkan kepada kedewasaan. Ibaratnya begini, ibaratnya banyak orang yang pakai smartphone gitu ya, banyak fiturnya di smartphone, tapi dia hanya mungkin menggunakan untuk WhatsApp saja gitu, atau teks saja, atau buat telepon saja. Nah, padahal sebetulnya kemampuan daripada smartphone itu masih banyak lagi. Nah, ini mungkin yang harus kemudian menjadi perhatian khusus di dunia pelayanan kesehatan itu. Nah, tapi bangsa kita ini, bangsa Indonesia ini adalah bangsa yang di dalam konteks digital ini juga adalah pembelajar yang cepat gitu ya. Jadi artinya mereka bisa cepat belajar, bisa cepat mengerti gitu. Apalagi yang generasi mudanya itu cepat paham tentang teknologi digital, dan kemudian nanti ini bisa menjadi nilai tambah sendiri ya. Tapi juga di dunia kesehatannya itu sendiri ya, seperti rumah sakit, seperti ya katakanlah dunia kedokterannya itu sendiri, mereka udah ada di dalam satu comfort zone yang menggunakan basis analog yang istilahnya udah agak susah keluar dari situ. Tempo hari saya pernah mendapatkan reserve ya, dengan menggunakan aplikasi reserve untuk ketemu dokter, salah satu dokter spesialis. Saya dapat jawaban melalui informasi gitu, bahwa oke, saya dapat waktu jam sekian dengan dokter ini, nomor antrian segini gitu kan. Nah, itu udah cukup menarik buat saya gitu. Tapi ketika saya harus datang ke vaskesnya, nah tetap aja terjadi satu basis revisi. Jadi satu basis revisi menjadi servis yang analog lagi. Artinya apa? Konsistensi daripada apa yang tertera secara digital tidak nyambung dengan prakteknya gitulah. Karena ketika saya datang, saya diminta untuk daftar lagi, dan kemudian didapat nomor antrian baru gitu ya, dan menurut saya ini menjadi sangat tidak efisien gitu ya. Nah, kemudian juga di dalam hal infrastruktur digital di Indonesia, terlepas daripada progres yang luar biasa, tapi menurut saya perlu dibangun berdasarkan satu mindset infrastruktur digital secara keindonesiaan ya. Karena hampir dibilang kita nggak punya produk infrastruktur yang benar-benar pure dibangun oleh lokal, sehingga memang sangat mengkhawatirkan jika kemudian data-data itu terjadi kebocoran ya, dan terjadi penjualan data-data yang penting di pasar gelap. Nah, ini dikarenakan infrastruktur kita tidak memiliki infrastruktur yang benar-benar didesain untuk kepentingan ya istilahnya kedaulatan negara kita gitu. Jadi ini yang harus dipahami ya. Terlepas kemudian bisa dikerjasamakan itu ceritanya lain, tapi kemudian ketika terjadi kebocoran dan bisa diperjualbelikan di pasar gelap, ini menjadi sangat merugikan, karena sebetulnya digitalisasi itu bertujuan untuk tercapainya satu kesejahteraan digital atau digital welfare gitu ya. Tapi kemudian ketika data-data itu istilahnya bisa diambil oleh pihak-pihak yang tidak bertanggung jawab, nah ini keamanannya menjadi persoalan tersendiri ya. Identity theft bisa terjadi, kemudian penghilangan identitas, kemudian macam-macam dan lain-lain gitu ya, cyber attack. Nah, ini akan sangat mengkhawatirkan, sehingga kepentingan infrastruktur ini untuk benar-benar ada di Indonesia ini menjadi sangat eminent. Nah, isu berikutnya adalah data struktur ya. Kita pernah mendengar ya inisiatif pemerintah untuk membangun yang namanya satu data gitu dan lain-lain. Nah, tapi sampai sekarang pun tidak kunjung bisa kita lihat hasilnya, ataupun kemudian bisa kita memanfaatkan gitu ya. Karena ternyata persoalan mendasar itu di dalam konteks data di Indonesia ini adalah data strukturnya, struktur datanya. Jadi intinya adalah masing-masing sektor itu mempunyai format data sendiri-sendiri. Dan kita bukan bicara 1-2 perbedaan, kita bicara ratusan perbedaan format data struktur yang sebetulnya datanya hampir mirip aja gitu ya. Sebetulnya datanya hampir mirip saja, tapi kemudian karena formatnya, data strukturnya berbeda, sehingga membuat persoalan sendiri di situ. Ya, kadang-kadang bisa terjadi satu data exchange yang berbeda dan menyebabkan persoalan-persoalan lain-lain. Nah, ini perlu menurut saya ada satu kebijakan baru dari pemerintah gitu kira-kira yang endorse yang namanya data structure ke depan agar menjadi benar-benar satu data structure sebenarnya. Tidak perlu satu data, tapi satu data structure akan lebih efektif. Dan di Indonesia ini juga masih terjadi yang namanya digital misperceptions ya. Jadi persepsi digital yang salah, bahwa digitalisasi itu seolah-olah kalau sudah menggunakan komputer ataupun smartphone itu sudah digital gitu ya. Padahal sebenarnya hanya memindahkan proses-proses analog ke proses-proses digital. Nah, belum lagi kalau misalnya kita mau lihat menggunakan sesuatu jasa AI atau enggak gitu. Tapi yang paling penting persepsi digitalnya ini udah salah. Contohnya adalah di beberapa basis kegiatan begitu ya, seolah-olah kalau kita menggunakan Zoom gitu ya untuk kemudian melakukan katakanlah interaksi antara satu orang dengan orang lain atau dokter dengan pasien itu dianggap udah terjadi satu digitalisasi. Sebenarnya enggak, itu masih analog sebenarnya, hanya menggunakan jalur digital, tapi itu bukan digitalisasi. Digitalisasi itu benar-benar dari titik 1 ke titik 2 disambungkan secara digital dan dimanfaatkan secara digital. Tapi nanti itu adalah diskusi di topik yang lainnya. Kita akan lanjut ke tampilan. Nah, di Indonesia sendiri sebetulnya layanan kesehatan ini benar-benar sangat didorong gitu ya, di-endorse oleh pemerintah dan juga jaminan sosial, program jaminan sosial ya, dan melalui program JKN, BPJS Kesehatan. Nah, jadi tanpa ada dua itu sebetulnya ya kita agak sedikit keteter gitu ya. Walaupun sebetulnya basis swastanya juga sudah mulai menggeliat gitu. Tapi seyogyanya kalau desain kebijakannya lebih fleksibel, sebenarnya dua-duanya bisa berkembang lebih pesat ya. Di beberapa kasus yang di drive oleh government sebetulnya kayak jumlah pembangunan tempat tidur misalnya di dalam konteks rumah sakit itu juga setiap tahun targetnya selalu tidak tercapai. Saya sendiri nggak ngerti kenapa, padahal anggarannya sudah dialokasikan dan ya banyak lagi persoalan-persoalan, termasuk salah satunya persoalan korupsi yang terbesar itu adalah juga di bidang penjualan atau pengadaan alkes di pemerintah. Nah, ini juga mungkin harus menjadi perhatian karena bagaimanapun juga kalau kita bisa menekan ya basis-basis penyelewengan, tentu kita bisa mendapatkan manfaat yang lebih untuk masyarakat ya. Implementasi tadi saya sudah sedikit singgung gitu ya, di rumah sakit rata-rata masih menggunakan pendekatan analog yang semi modern ya, sehingga memang perlu adanya upgrading ya, sehingga basis-basis interconnectivity yang berbasis nanti IoT itu bisa dimanfaatkan untuk nantinya menjadi basis digitalisasi ke depan. Dan yang jelas ya untuk perbandingan jumlah penduduk dengan jumlah fasilitas ini masih jauh dari ideal dan perlu masih memberikan ruang ya untuk pembangunan fasilitas baru. Nah, kita sendiri mempunyai satu digital gap ya, yang berdasarkan tahun 2020 skor daripada industri 4.0 maturity-nya, skornya baru mencapai di angka 2,8. Ini berdasarkan indeks industri 4.0 Indonesia Index ya. Nah, jadi maksimalnya 40 ininya 2,8. Artinya kita sebenarnya belum mencapai satu maturity di situ. Kita lebih ke arah masih di persimpangan jalan ya, 2,8 ini. Harusnya kita sebenarnya di dalam basis kalau kita benar-benar mau pure digitalisasi, kita di angka 3,5 paling tidak, sehingga kita benar-benar siap. Nah, dalam konteks ini sama gitu ya. Jadi saya rasa banyak sekali yang perlu jadi perhatian untuk di-upgrade agar kemudian implementasi digitalisasi di bidang healthcare itu juga akan menjadi lebih efektif dan lebih bermanfaat. Tapi Indonesia ini jangan pernah disepelekan ya, karena secara marketnya ini luar biasa. Jadi kesempatan di dalam pengembangannya ini marketnya benar-benar besar. Kita ada 270 juta penduduk gitu ya, untuk dilayani kesehatannya ini dahsyat sekali, 270 juta ya. Tapi challenge-nya ya itu dia, sebarannya ya, tidak di dalam satu kontinen, tapi juga kita adalah suatu negara kepulauan yang ya terdiri dari 17.000 pulau gitu, sehingga memang menjadi tantangan tersendiri ya di dalam konteks penyelenggaraan pelayanan kesehatan itu. Nah, tadi masih ada big gap to improve ya, artinya banyak sekali ya kegiatan-kegiatan untuk improve-nya. Nah, kemudian juga sebetulnya di dalam konteks tenaga kesehatan ya, kita cukup qualified ya, kita punya pelayan perawat-perawat ya yang cukup bagus ya, paramedik yang cukup bagus, kemudian juga ke dokter-dokter yang luar biasa bagus gitu sebenarnya. Jadi masuk economic scale-nya sebenarnya. Jadi kalau kita mau mendesain gitu ya, membangun satu konsep healthcare di dalam konteks katakanlah fintech ke depan, ini sebenarnya kita bisa menawarkan sesuatu yang sangat murah, atau maksudnya nggak murah lah kita bicara, tapi affordable gitu, tapi layanannya bagus gitu. Jadi ini sebenarnya dengan fakta ini ya, opportunity-nya sangat besar sekali untuk bisa dibangun dan kemudian bisa dimanfaatkan di Indonesia. Ya, saya sendiri selalu percaya bahwa opportunity itu harus diambil sekali saja gitu, karena yang keduanya itu harus jadi sukses gitu. Nah, dan ini adalah approaches yang ada di pikiran saya, bagaimana kemudian kita bisa meraih ya, mencapai yang namanya digitalisasi healthcare di Indonesia ya, karena sebetulnya tantangan-tantangannya adalah, nah, mau itu pasien kelas 3, kelas 2, kelas 1 atau VIP, ya, pada dasarnya semua orang pada saat dilayani secara kesehatan itu ya pasti mereka ingin dianggap sebagai seseorang yang penting ya. Maksudnya bukan dalam konteks VIP, tapi mereka nggak mau disepelekan, mereka nggak mau diignore, mereka nggak mau ditinggalkan begitu aja. Mereka harus benar-benar diperhatikan dan ditreat sampai kemudian sembuh. Nah, ini jadi satu mindset tersendiri di dalam konteks menawarkan healthcare service sebenarnya. Yang kedua juga tadi saya sampaikan, karena economic scale-nya ada di situ dan kemudian peluangnya ada ya. Ini sebetulnya kita memiliki kesempatan untuk menawarkan satu healthcare yang affordable gitu ya. Nah, dan tantangan yang lainnya sebenarnya ya karena tadi yang saya bilang punya satu gap di dalam konteks standarisasi sebenarnya, karena kan negara kita ini satu provinsi dan provinsi lain tuh masih menyisakan gap-gap kualitas pelayanan di dalam konteks pelayanan publik gitu. Nah, ini mungkin yang harus dibangun satu standar tersendiri ya, agar kemudian secara real kita bisa menawarkan satu jasa ataupun satu jasa pelayanan kesehatan yang benar-benar bisa mumpuni gitu ya. Nah, yang belum juga dilaksanakan sekarang, walaupun ini adalah mekanisme quick response ya, artinya proximity based service, artinya service atau pelayanan berdasarkan kedekatan. Kedekatan bukan kedekatan tempat tinggal saja, tapi kedekatan di mana dia berada gitu ya. Karena yang namanya BPJS Kesehatan ini sekarang seolah-olah kalau dia sedang berada di luar kota, ini menjadi sesuatu yang persoalan yang sangat sulit untuk klaim. Ya, walaupun jadi hanya bisa klaim kalau gawat darurat. Nah, tapi kalau klaim dia masuk ke fase 1 itu agak kesulitan. Nah, Pak, seharusnya kan ya kalau orang-orang pusing-pusing dikit gitu ngapain juga dibawa ke UGD gitu. Harusnya kan dia cukuplah dibawa ke fase 1 gitu. Nah, ini sebenarnya harus didesain dengan lebih baik lagi. Dan aplikasi yang dimanfaatkan tentunya harus aplikasi yang benar-benar nanti bisa semua orang mempunyai akses dan bisa memakainya, yang cukup familiar dalam bentuk super apps ya. Jadi benar-benar sehari-hari mereka selalu menggunakan aplikasi itu, tidak perlu menawarkan aplikasi yang lain, kira-kira seperti itu. Dan kalau diintegrasikan nanti antara digital infrastructure dan healthcare service-nya, kalau kalau boleh saya simpulkan seperti ini gitu ya. Yang pertama adalah kita harus cari super apps yang paling cocok gitu untuk aplikasi healthcare ini. Kemudian juga harus didukung oleh satu payment gateway systems yang baik, karena suka atau tidak suka healthcare service ini selalu incurred, yang namanya biaya ya, selalu diperlukan biaya di dalamnya. Dan karena nanti komunitasnya sangat banyak ya, udah nggak bisa lagi menggunakan pendekatan programming monolitik, jadi harus menggunakan microservices berdasarkan cloud computing gitu ya. Nanti kalau enggak ya akan terjadi congestion bottleneck yang kemudian sangat merugikan. Padahal yang namanya healthcare itu nggak boleh fail, nggak boleh telat, nggak boleh salah. Nah, ini jadi soalannya. Nah, di sisi pelayanan kesehatannya sendiri tentu harus ada ya, mungkin istilahnya bukan insurance scheme ya, tapi semacam belum tentu dalam bentuk insurance scheme, tapi dalam bentuk premium yang bisa mengcover gitu ya, premium yang bisa mengcover segala aktivitas biaya pelayanan kesehatan secara holistik gitu, secara menyeluruh ya. Nah, di Indonesia juga persoalan tentang medical record ini menjadi isu tersendiri, karena ya kita satu rumah sakit dengan rumah sakit lain medical recordnya nggak bisa ngomong tuh, ya kan? Kita selalu dihadapi persoalan ya dites lagi, dicek lagi, di scan lagi gitu ya. Nah, kalau kita mempunyai satu historical medical record yang benar-benar berbasis cloud katakanlah, ini bisa menjadi sangat efisien ya. Pertama, biaya untuk cetak medical record akan lebih sedikit. Yang kedua juga dokter-dokter di berbagai macam daerah di Indonesia bisa memanfaatkan gitu bagi daerah-daerah yang memang belum memiliki alat-alat untuk rekam medis yang cukup baik begitu ya. Sebenarnya ini bisa saling mendukung gitu ya. Kita juga terlalu banyak administrasi ya, proses administrasi yang sebenarnya tadi yang saya sampaikan kok secara digital sudah kelihatannya fix gitu ya, antrian dan lain-lain, ternyata kita sampai di vaskesnya tetap harus istilahnya check in lagi gitu ya, harus ganti lagi gitu, harus daftar lagi. Nah, ini menurut saya bisa di bypass semua untuk lebih efisien, lebih tenang. Dan ada beberapa juga integrasi yang perlu dibangun, yaitu di dalam dunia farmasi itu sendiri ya, kemudian hospital ini rumah sakit dan juga paramedik, sehingga kita bisa mendesain satu basis pelayanan kesehatan yang holistik. Nah, yang sangat sulit untuk kita bangun kulturnya adalah rumah sakit sebenarnya, karena rumah sakit ini masing-masing rumah sakit mempunyai manajemen dan policy sendiri-sendiri, dan kadang-kadang ini tidak bisa kemudian kita intervensi begitu aja. Tapi saya yakin kalau kemudian kita melakukan pendekatan yang disruptif ya, kemudian kita mensosialisasikannya dengan baik ya, rumah sakit yang ikut dengan konsep-konsep itu yang akan maju terus gitu, dan sedangkan rumah sakit yang kurang kooperatif nanti akan tertinggal, dan mereka akan tentu menjadi bagian yang merugi gitu di dalam konteks digitalisasi ini.
Mohon maaf Pak Pumbida,
Bagaimana?
waktu sudah kurang 3 menit lagi.
Wah ini saya udah sampai ke slide terakhir, jadi
Pas
tenang
ya.
saja. Ya. Jadi saya ucapkan terima kasih, itu presentasi saya di pagi hari ini tentunya, dan mudah-mudahan ini bisa memberikan gambaran ya bagi ya istilahnya ini pesan bagi siapapun yang ingin masuk ke dunia fintech di dalam dunia healthcare di Indonesia ya. Ini catatan-catatan saya selama saya aktif di dalam memantau dunia kesehatan di Indonesia sejak saya di Komisi 9 di DPR RI pada periode 2009-2014 sampai sekarang pun saya terus memantau ya, walaupun belum mencapai sesuatu yang ideal di dalam konteks visi saya, tapi paling tidak sudah mengarah ke dalam sesuatu yang menuju kebaikan, dan mudah-mudahan di ujungnya sana akan terjadi satu success story yang luar biasa. Nah itu mungkin dari saya, terima kasih kepada semua yang sudah bergabung di dalam webinar ini, and thank you very much for all the partners from Singapore and others, and that's all for me. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Terima kasih Pak Pumbida atas presentasi yang sangat menarik pada pagi ini. Selanjutnya kami serahkan ke Pak Sulat dan Pak Lastio, mungkin kalau ada sedikit tanya jawab atau diskusi sebelum kita menginjak ke acara dengan FTA Asia. Kami persilahkan Pak Sulat.
Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu rekan-rekan. Silakan kalau ada pertanyaan mengenai event webinar kita saat ini. Nanti ada Pak Pumbida, ada Pak Lastio, ada saya, ada Dr. Scott Wong, ada Dr. Lilian dari Singapura yang bisa menjawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan dari Bapak Ibu sebelum kita masuk ke acara panel Asia. Panel Asia nanti ada dari Korea, dari Cina ya, dan lain-lain. Silahkan ada pertanyaan sebelum kita melihat acara di panel Asia. Ada Bapak Ibu dari mungkin bisa lewat chat box atau langsung silahkan.
Ya Pak Denny sudah resen Pak Sulat.
Oh ya silahkan.
Oke, pagi Pak Sulat, pagi Pak
Ya,
Pumbida dan semuanya. Mungkin ke Pak Pumbida saya agak ada sedikit sharing saja dari pengalaman saya. Kalau latar belakang saya mungkin dari manajemen. Nah, hanya memang saya untuk medis ini saya banyak belajar dari orang tua saya yang juga dokter, bagaimana cara menanganin pasien. Begitu saya pernah ada permintaan dari salah satu rumah sakit untuk mendigitalisasi pelayanan. Memang waktu itu tadi juga disinggung oleh Pak Pumbida dalam hal asuransi, fokus di asuransi, bagaimana memanajemen asuransi kesehatan di rumah sakit tersebut. Nah, kemudian ya saya karena digital bukan latar belakang saya di teknologi, saya sebetulnya waktu itu kerjasama dengan tim dosen IT di salah satu perguruan tinggi di kota tersebut. Karena itu gimana caranya harganya bisa murah itu biayanya. Ya sudah, saya tidak menggunakan perusahaan teknologi yang besar, tetapi dengan dosen yang dari IT. Itu saya coba waktu itu, walaupun sebetulnya akhirnya nggak jadi, tapi waktu itu sudah terbuka gitu loh. Jadi penanganan dari mulai data-data satu pasien, kemudian ada penyakitnya, dan sampai dengan bagaimana peran dan juga obat-obatnya itu sebetulnya nggak terlalu sulit kayaknya gitu. Jadi begitu saya mau diskusi dengan dosen dari IT itu, Itu sih mudah Pak, dia bilang gitu. Hanya memang waktu itu rumah sakitnya mundur satu dan lain hal, dia berhenti jadi direktur karena tadi juga dikatakan jangankan beda rumah sakit, satu rumah sakit beda pejabat, hanya kebijakan manajemennya juga berubah gitu. Sebetulnya itu saya tadi sebetulnya nggak terlalu sulit kok kalau saya coba waktu itu dilakukan gitu loh. Mungkin itu saja. Ya, hanya memang ya tadi masyarakat kita apakah menggunakan itu cukup bisa lah, tentu ada sosialisasi juga mungkin itu saja sih dari saya, sedikit sharing saja ya mengenai dan itu bisa saja kalau misalkan dipakai untuk secara nasional gitu konsep itu. Mungkin itu saja sih kalau dari pengalaman saya sih. Terima kasih.
Silakan Pak Pemuda.
Langsung dikomentarin ya. Ya,
Iya,
baik.
langsung
Makasih
aja,
Pak
Pak.
Denny.
Iya.
Ya, bagus sekali masukannya. Saya rasa nah ini mispersepsi dari Pak Denny di dalam konteks istilah digitalisasi tadi gitu sebenarnya. Karena basisnya Pak Denny di dalam konteks sebenarnya manajemen informasinya saja. Padahal di dalam konteks digitalisasi kita tidak di dalam konteks manajemen informasi daripada healthcare-nya saja, tapi juga menyambungkan tadi yang saya bilang integrasi ya antara dunia digitalnya, infrastrukturnya dengan service yang ditawarkan oleh dunia healthcare service-nya tadi ya. Ya kan saya bilang ada farmasi, ada hospital, ada paramedics gitu kan, terus kemudian ada medical record management gitu kan. Nah, ini harusnya bisa terintegrasi menjadi satu gitu loh. Ya kan, ini kan belum terjadi gitu ya. Karena ini yang karena menurut saya implementasi digitalisasi per sektoral sih, per isu gitu ya, sudah lumayan ada gitu ya. Pendataan ketika terjadi insurance claim gitu ya dengan menggunakan TPA di Indonesia sudah ada gitu. Tapi itu juga masih hanya di dalam konteks perhitungan katakanlah biaya klaim gitu. Ya, padahal di dalam benak saya tadi itu kita benar-benar mulai dari rumah gitu, ketika seseorang itu katakanlah sakit gitu, dia bisa milih vaskes tersendiri, bisa bahkan kalau darurat gitu ya. Kan kita sekarang ini kan orang-orang yang tinggal sendiri itu kan bingung kadang-kadang. Kalau gawat darurat itu ke ke UGD aja susah. Nah, tapi seharusnya dengan memencet satu yang namanya katakanlah emergency button, harusnya yang namanya ambulan bisa datang gitu. Harusnya ambulan bisa ngebawa dia ke UGD terdekat gitu. Sebenarnya itu idealnya di dalam konteks digitalisasi healthcare ke depan gitu. Nah, ini memang masih ada gap ya di Indonesia ini yang harus benar-benar diselesaikan ya. Isu-isunya berkenaan dengan kebijakan pemerintah itu sendiri, dan kemudian juga tadi saya udah singgung tentang bagaimana BPJS diimplementasikan, tapi ruang-ruang itu sebenarnya gap-gap ini memberikan peluang bagi yang namanya swasta ya bisa masuk di dalam pembangunan digitalisasi healthcare ini ke depan. Kira-kira itu sih. Terima kasih Pak Denny masukannya ya.
Terima kasih Pak Pempinda.
Terima kasih Pak Denny, Pak Pempida. Saya sudah melihat yang panel Asia akan mulai dari Indodat Event. Apakah sudah bisa monitor yang dari panel Asia? Barangkali bisa disambungkan ke sini. Kita, Bapak Ibu, rekan-rekan, kita menunggu sebentar ya. Kita akan sambungkan yang dari panel Asia ke Zoom kita ini. Ya, itu.
"17 years and doing research in AI, blockchain, and cybersecurity recently. So the ABCs of fintech is changing the way we work, the way we play, the way we live. So this morning, we are going to look at how the fintech and the emerging technology is affecting the way we work, the way we play, but more importantly, in healthcare. So health technology innovation solves critical problems and saves lives. But even the best inventions are useless if they don't reach the patients and the providers who need them. So health technology innovation solves critical problems and save lives. And we therefore are very, very blessed and very, very grateful for the wonderful speakers today to share on how we can leverage on such emerging technologies that have gone through a lot of research and development and is ready for commercial use. So again, I would like to thank our wonderful speakers for being able to bring technology from the research lab to the commercial lab and at last by the bedside, in the hospitals, maybe in your home, right? So the wonderful people in the healthcare industry have access to all these. And we are going to hear from each and every speaker today, including our most renowned professor. He is Seng Hong Hoon from Korea. He's the president of Asian Society for Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgery. You have seen his wonderful CV there. And our next speaker is Dr. James Lee. Dr. James Lee is a professor and associate dean for research from West China Hospital. And again, we are so blessed to have him with us to bring his wealth of experience and research work into reality. So we are going to see metaverse, we are going to see AI. And all these are wonderful inventions that we in Singapore are tracking very, very closely. So in Singapore, we've got this wonderful guy who has been soaked deep into where the action is. And he's none other than Jim Lim. Jim has got a lot of experience harnessing technology in healthcare. And you can see that he has been there for telemedicine, for Good Doctor, when nobody realizes its importance until COVID-19. Then they are scrambling to look for solutions. And there you go. We are already, our wonderful R&D managed to get all this ready. And people say, well, when you are in a desperate situation, then only you start looking out. But thanks to this wonderful panel here and their sponsors, they have been doing great work. Without further ado, I will now call upon our wonderful host, Mr. Jim Lim. He will give us the opening address and then we will move to the panelists. Over to you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Koh, and thanks for the great introduction of most of the speakers, and very exciting Saturday morning, right? So hopefully, I think some people are working still, especially our healthcare colleagues, right? Saturday is probably the rest day, but some are on shift as well, right? Like Dr. Jong, I understand just now you mentioned, he's actually working in the hospital now, right? So thanks for all the healthcare professionals for your dedication, definitely. Yeah, so let me just, without further ado, let me just quickly cover the opening address, and then I wouldn't steal the thunder from the speakers here, right? So they will share a lot of very interesting things. Okay. I hope everyone can see my slide, right? Okay. So I think today's webinar is about future of healthcare and technology. And I will do a quick overview of the digital trends and other things, right? So I'm Jim Lim, I'm the partner as well as a sector lead for healthcare and life sciences, CSU and NCS Healthcare, right? So who are we, right? I'm sure most of our healthcare colleagues in Singapore know us, right? So NCS is 40 years this year. NCS Healthcare is 30 years. So we have been providing different ICT solutions to the different Singapore Healthcare Ministry, Singapore Healthcare Ministry, the institutions, right? Some government agencies across public and private sectors in Singapore for the past 30 years. We have also definitely worked on some of the regional projects as well, right? So moving forward, where NCS Healthcare and Life Sciences CSU is heading is actually, we are actually also entering the digital health things, and that's where my background, and that's why I joined NCS about 2 years ago, right? Going to bring NCS to regional as well as the digital side of things. And very happy to be able to organize this webinar together with FinTech Academy, and also have our partners such as Tectra Signum and SenseTime organizing this, so that we can bring probably some of the global best practices and innovations into Singapore and ASEAN, right? So that we can propel our healthcare industry together. Just very quickly, right? So I think many of us would know this thing called Iron Triangle of Healthcare, right? So what is that, right? We have very quality healthcare in Singapore. It's affordable to some extent for local citizens, right? But again, affordability is always a function of many things. And we do want to be able to keep on providing very quality healthcare without overloading the cost on the healthcare institutions and the workers. And we do want to provide access. So Singapore is pretty small. Access is not much of an issue. But when I was in China, when I was in Indonesia, where you have rural areas and you have areas which are not easily accessible by simple transportation, that's where some of the digital healthcare like telemedicine really play a very big part. And that's why I've kind of launched Grab Health in Indonesia 2 years ago as well, right? So Iron Triangle of Healthcare is always talking about balance of cost, quality, and access. And of course, with COVID, we see telemedicine flourishing. But actually, even before that, in many big countries, we already see digital health, not just telemedicine, but digital health, including things like robotics, including things like AI. They can really improve the quality, the accuracy of things, right? As well as lowering the cost and providing good access to general public, right? Later on, you will hear from Dr. Zhong from Korea, as well as Dr. Lee from China. They will talk a lot about the AI side of things, which I'm sure, and including my colleague Timothy, I'm sure AI actually providing a lot of quality and accuracy to healthcare activities, as well as lowering the cost, or at least not increasing the cost. Okay. Some of the digital health trend, right, that is published in many reports. One of them, of course, is telemedicine, right? So I started the telemedicine company in Singapore and Indonesia before COVID. And yes, we did struggle to build an ecosystem and even trying to kind of get it up and running and more people subscribing to it. But with COVID, really, the whole thing just changed the entire game plan, right? People are subscribing to telemedicine. You have access problem in bigger countries, and even medicine delivery is another key thing of telemedicine. So from here, we can see that the market size is pretty big, right? In 2019 alone, is 45.5 billion across the world. And we are looking at a CAGR of 19.3% all the way until 2026. So that's definitely a very big market. But again, we wouldn't discuss in detail today. We will have separate webinars if anyone is interested to talk about telemedicine, because I do have a lot of things to share. And recently I shared at the HIMSS APAC Global APAC conference as well, right? So there's a lot of different types of telemedicine, right? It's not just a teleconsult that we're talking about, right? In Singapore, we can't really use AI triaging to some extent yet for telemedicine, but that's already happening in China with Ping An Good Doctor, and of course in UK with Babylon, right? So that's the telemedicine market, right? Second thing is about patient monitoring devices, right? I think most of us will agree that future of healthcare is not about just primary care and sick care. That's important, but we definitely want to move, and the trend is moving from primary and sick care into healthcare and community-based care. So health monitoring, chronic disease management, right? Medication reminder. These are all the future trends, or even currently, right? That's going to happen. And with that, many of that, we need patient monitoring devices, things like IoT, things like smart devices that can really help patients to monitor when they are at community-based care or even at home. Third trend is healthcare assistive robots. I'm sure my Singapore healthcare colleagues and customers know that the NCS has this robot called Florence, which is a nursing robot. And we are also working on what we call robotic as a service, that we can bring in different types of robots, such as Cruiser, right? Cruiser is a robot that can actually work with chatting with the elderlies as well. And we have Tammy. Tammy does concierge robots. So we actually offer what we call robotic as a service, because CapEx investment in robots can be high. But if we can make it into as a service subscription model, that can really make the entire robotic scenes, right, move much faster than where we are today. Okay, so these are three key trends that we kind of see globally, and you can see from the market size is pretty big, and the kicker is very big, especially for telemedicine, healthcare assisted robot, right, which is more than 15% kicker itself. So very quickly, what is the current landscape of healthcare innovations, right? From what we see, there are two trends. Definitely, there's a lot of digital transformations happening in the healthcare institutions, right? We are lucky and fortunate to be participating in some of this with our healthcare institutions friends in Singapore, and we are also trying to work on some of these trials as innovation programs in Australia and China as well, right? You can hear more from NCS China and NCS Australia, where we work on, for example, 5G gas metering in the China hospital, right? So there are many things that we actually do, and definitely we are also expanding our footprint from the traditional mission critical systems in the hospital or in the healthcare institutions into the digital health, which again, as we have seen, is actually very important to move the entire healthcare scene forward into the future of healthcare and kind of battling the iron triangle of healthcare so that we can still maintain the cost, quality, and access very well. So that's a digital transformation within healthcare institutions. Very quickly, is the other key trends is digital disruptions, right? That is linked to what we call consumerization of healthcare. This is just like how Grab, which recently got listed, right? How Grab and Uber kind of disrupted the transportation industry. We are also seeing a lot of disruption from many health tech and medtech startups and alliances and ecosystems. Of course, the government is also promoting things like telemedicine, right? But we see even faster disruption in the US, in Israel, in China, right? And I myself was in one of them with Ping An Good Doctor. Okay, so as we can see, the two trends of digital transformation with the so-called traditional healthcare institutions or providers, and we are also seeing digital disruptors coming up, right? So the entire health tech and med tech is part of the new normal that we can see, and COVID kind of accelerated some of them. Every few months, I get invite to listen to new health tech and med tech startups around the world, right? I'm also Ping An Healthcare, Ping An Innovation Center, a global mentor. So every quarter we mentor one or two companies, and recent 2 years, there are many health tech and med tech companies over there, right? Again, the entire vision of healthcare industry towards the future of healthcare is looking at affordable and quality healthcare, right? This map to a lot of the United Nations SDG, right? Sustainable Development Goal, right? One of them is good health and well-being. Of course, this entire thing is, I'll say, fast-tracked by an aging population in many countries, right? The need to contain or cut costs to continue to afford quality healthcare, right? How to ensure efficiency, which again, AI can play a lot of part in that, right? In the B2C world as well as the B2B world. And then how do we do a personalized healthcare and proactive healthcare towards things like chronic disease management or general health management, right? Actually, we can see from Gallup Growth report, published together with EDB in 2018, right? There are 170 plus health tech companies in Singapore itself. And you can see big bulk of them is in the wellness, because again, it may be easier to do health management and wellness management for health tech and med tech startups as compared to the very mission critical or sick care, primary care related kind of a healthcare providing. Yeah, this is something I personally was very involved in for 1.5 years. Right, we launched Grab Health in Indonesia. Recently launched Good Doctor launch in Thailand as well. And Ping An Good Doctor has this 1-minute clinic when 2 years ago when I presented it around the world and also to SoftBank. It was very interesting idea, right? We can discuss more. It's basically you can go in AI robot or AI triaging in the photo booth like clinic that you see on the right hand side, and then left hand side is like a dispensary machine that you can get your medicine through the QR code that is from the e-prescription from the 1-minute clinic, right? So things like this will be becoming more and more popular, and very soon it will be part of the entire healthcare ecosystems. Okay, so very quickly, digital health, as we can see, whether is it telemedicine, is it robotics, or is it any IoT devices, right? So these are actually impacting across the entire ecosystem, right? That's why as a digital disruptor, they're not looking at just replacing existing healthcare institution or providers solutions, right? They are also looking at complementing, and it's beyond just the healthcare institution, but into life sciences, including pharmaceutical companies, right? Medication delivery, AI in pharmaceutical trials, right? These are the different types of technology or digital health impacting the beyond just the traditional healthcare institutions. Things like when we look at the payers as well, right? There are many, I would say, blockchain initiative, right? Which is looking at how do I do insurance. It can be government insurance, it can be corporate insurance, it can be personal insurance, right? That's related to healthcare. How can I better protect the data exchanges between the third-party administrator together with hospitals as well as the patients? So all this in, I would say, secure data exchange to fast track the entire claim processing, right, or insurance processing, and make the entire experience as a patient, the patient journey, much smoother and better, right? My last slide, so technology, since this thing is called Future of Healthcare and Technology, right? So what are the technology in future of healthcare, right? You can see on the left-hand side, the pictures, right? These are all NCS picture. The first one at the top was during last year, Chinese New Year. We sent Cruiser, that's the small robot there, that actually do a lot of different exercises and chat with elder care providers in Singapore, right? This is published on their LinkedIn or Facebook post, right? And that's Cruiser. And on the other one, we have Florence, which is a nursing robot that we work with different hospitals in Singapore to kind of help in nursing robotics, right? In the middle side is what we call Robot Manager, which when you have multiple robots and different manufacturers all over the world, you don't want to control them in silo, right? That's why NCS built, I would say, platform or a dashboard that kind of control different types of robot in a robot manager manner. On the bottom left is an autonomous vehicle called Neolix that we brought in from China, right? It is not just, I mean, it's for healthcare as well. We actually run a small trial stationary in Singapore, Alexandra Hospital during the care day, where we actually can do dispensary of not medicine yet, but drinks and gift, right? The ultimate aim is to be similar to China, right? That we can do it as a AV for smart healthcare, where in China, in Wuhan, 2 years ago, they actually used to dispense things like the mask, the sanitizer, the gloves, the PPE, and other things. And of course, it can collect laundries in a healthcare campus as well, right? So that you don't need to risk the human life to go and collect all those things, right? So it's quite well adopted in China already, and we are hoping that we can do autonomous vehicle in healthcare in Singapore pretty soon. And the last picture is our partners. Dr. Sidnam probably will talk about that. There's a VR in healthcare education. In this case, is CPR, right? So that's again another key future trends, I would say, in the entire future of healthcare, using AR, VR to really do medical education, and of course, subsequently using it for remote surgery as well, right? Which China already have kind of tried it with 5G. So if I were just to summarize, what are the technology in future of healthcare, right? Similar to what Dr. Koh has said for fintech, I will say we also have A, B, C, D, E, F, G for healthcare, right? Especially future of healthcare. First one, of course, AI. AI is impacting every industry, including healthcare. And I think the three speakers following later are all talking about AI in different use cases. So we'll hear from them. Blockchain, I don't think we'll cover much today, but we can always organize and together with fintech, right? That's why there's a healthcare and fintech crossover, because there's a lot of insurance but third-party processing that needs blockchain data exchanges, right? That can actually help in fastening and smoothing the entire future of healthcare claim processes. Cloud, definitely, I'm sure Singapore is very familiar. We have a lot of different clouds, from government cloud, healthcare cloud, where many of the applications are on there, and you'll continue to be the trend. Data, I think later on, Dr. Scott Wong will be talking a lot about that. He's a data analyst, data scientist, doing a lot of data work, right? Especially in tracing COVID cases in Singapore. So I'll let him share that, right? E, I think this is something that people don't really talk about much, but I'll say ecosystem is very important, as we can see from the previous slide and my own experience in Ping An Good Doctor. We're forming ecosystem with pharmaceutical companies, life sciences, health management company, nutritions, All these are becoming important from an entire patient journey and in a health management perspective. And of course, from E, we can also extend into e-consult, e-diagnostic, e-medicine, and so on and so forth. Yeah. 5G as in FG, right? This is pretty much picking up speed in Singapore. Not much of a healthcare use cases yet, but we have seen again in China and some part of US, 5G really can enable things like remote surgery, right, and robotic assisted operations. So these will be the key things that is going to happen, and 5G will definitely also enable that. And of course, 5G brings in many other capabilities that we can talk about it separately, right? We actually have a 5G in healthcare presentation as well. Okay, so all in all, sorry I take up much of the time. Just want to introduce our team, right? Myself as the partner, as well as the sector lead for NCS Healthcare. Timothy, whom you will hear from him later on, he's our sales lead in charge of local and regional sales. He's working with me a lot with the Australian and China healthcare providers, right, for the past 1 year. Like Kwan, Alvin are both our delivery lead, who actually leads different projects, right, in Singapore mainly, right, with the healthcare institution. Many of the local healthcare friends will know them very well. And Daniel Ng is our enterprise architect industry lead, who actually provide a lot of thought leaderships that he has over the past many years, 20 over years in healthcare, as well as his research into the new areas of digital health. So with that, I thank you for joining a Saturday morning webinar, and I understand next week you have design thinking workshop as well. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll let Dr. Koh take over from here and enjoy the webinar, and look forward to meeting every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jim. That was a fantastic overview of the landscape of technology in healthcare, and definitely very futuristic. And we're going to hear now from Dr. John from Korea, and he's going to tell us all about this wonderful metaverse that we are ready to plunge in. Over to you, Dr. John.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm very honored to join this web conference. Next slide, please. As a healthcare professional by myself, and the founder and the consultant to the Tetrasignum and HealthZone crowd, our mission is overcome healthcare disparity and provide the best possible medical service to everyone. To realize this, we made two important things. The left side is cross-border medical service, focusing on the developing countries. And the right side is the Smart Hospital Alliance, mostly from the leading hospitals in the developed countries. So the collaboration together with these both kind of network, we would like to provide cross-border telemedicine and the cooperation platform based on the alliance of leading hospitals. Next slide, please. So a Smart Hospital Alliance was established to drive and expand the development of the cutting-edge digital health technologies by determining their usefulness through field testing with global leading hospitals and the medical institutions. Through this alliance approach, we aim to save the partnering hospital a significant amount of money in R&D expense, and to share the generated big data from the SHA members to aid in the development of new future products and services. SHA members may choose to participate in all proposed projects or only those of interest to their needs. Together, we will change the paradigm of the global healthcare. Next, please. So far, the focus areas are the advanced telemedicine, advanced virtual healthcare, aiming kind of the severe diseases like the cancer, heart disease, brain diseases like that, and the remote clinical researches, and the remote surgery education, immersive nursing education, interactive medical training, and focusing on digital therapeutics. It's just joint effort to drive digital inclusion in healthcare and the global medical education. Next, please. Yeah, first the teleconsultation, we make it a virtual clinic to joining a global consultant and the local doctor and the patient and relatives together in the same virtual consultation room, virtual clinic, and share the data, the monitor of the demanding countries. So by this, we can allow for patients who seek oversee second opinions and establish a safe and trusted route for medical tourism. And online healthcare practices and technology advancements, a partner networking opportunities and brand building, and educate doctors in emerging countries on effective patient evaluation practice. Next. So we are in the hospital, we are using this kind of the system to protect the hospital patient information security and the privacy. We use the two firewalls, external and internal firewalls, and the external network from patient and the hospital will be connected by cloud, and the hospital doctors can use the special telemedicine, telehealth personal computers to communicate to the foreign patients. Next slide, please. So it is also good for, we are focusing on the remote clinical research, especially for digital therapeutics and the digital diagnosis. Objectives are expanding clinical work on global scale and implemented the latest technology of data analysis, big data sharing, and added the project values through the global recruitment and utilizing shore member resource and the know-hows. Next. So this is what I am recently focusing very much. So we are in the middle of the building the Global Medical Academy. And the key features of this support is the cloud-based solution. And the participants may join from anywhere with the Wi-Fi access. And the real-time 3D conversation is possible. Record session data. So far, we have about 200 concurrent participants can join, and the multi-device capability and the real-time live streaming support is possible. Next, please. Yeah, this is the VR Metaverse conference, which we conducted a couple of months before. So speakers can enter this virtual classroom anywhere, and then utilizing the head-mount display, we can participants can enjoy the big screening, very clear images. All participants will appear as avatar. So the one unexpected advantage of this conference is because attendants appear as avatar, they are very actively making questions. All the surgical field can be appeared very, very clearly. Even much better than interactive, just comparing with the usual Zoom conference. Next, please. This is the cardiac surgery. So the upper middle part is the view of the mitral valve inside the heart, minimally invasive the cardiac valve replaced. And the left side is a color Doppler. And of course, we put the CT image or MRI image, any images, pathology images. Upper right part is how surgical team is moving. And the lower part is provided by 360 degree. So every participant, they can turn their head to right or left, up, down, and they can see the surgical team movement, or that they look for the right to look for how anesthesiology is doing, and in turn head left to how scrub nurses or how the cardiopulmonary bypass machine is operating. So this environment we can provide much even better than trainees are in the real operation room. So I named this as a virtual polyclinic surgical room. So this is a very good tool for global medical education. Next, please. So We are also providing the CPR education. So as you know, the last 30, 40 years, there were no innovation in CPR education. This is very important, but we neglected how to do it. Utilizing extended reality and the metaverse concept, we made the innovation even in CPR education. Next, please. So this mannequin has very specially censored. So this mannequin has Internet of Things to send the data, and the trainees make the reservation by mobile, and all the generated the performance data will be sent to cloud, and the inside of this platform will provide the AI environment, AI tutors. Next, please. So this is for the light version for group training. He censored mannequin with HMD or censored mannequin with the pad. So many of the group education is possible. And the manager or the tutor can monitor how the participant's performance is appeared. And of course, all these data will be sent to the cloud automatically and utilized by big data. Next, please. So this is the commercially available platform for CPR education. So trainees can do physical exercise, physical training by their own compression and breathing. And also we are providing the mental education by virtual environment. AI tutor will teach very clearly, very standard education, and the trainees will meet the virtual victim and the virtual passengers to ask help. And all the performance data will be very detailedly sent to the cloud. Next, please. So we also developing the nursing education. Lower part is the single procedure virtual reality education tool, and upper part is that I named the clinical twin, make a scenario based how nurses should do in the clinical setting. This is very important for the nurse education in globally. Next, please. Digital therapy is also keyword for future in medicine, differs from the medicine and the medical devices. Digital therapy is less, more easily to do collaboration trials. Next, please. I'm in the middle of the 2 clinical trials for patients with receiving the hemodialysis and the chemotherapy for lung cancer. So by providing virtual environment, we are evaluating how much we can reduce mental stress or anxiety. If this pilot study is successful, we will share this trial. We will expand this trial to global Smart Hospital Alliance hospitals. Next, please. So far, the early November, we made the Smart Hospital Alliance initiative meeting. So far, about 15 leading hospitals joined this Smart Hospital Alliance, and maybe 10 or more will join the early next year. I think this Smart Hospital Alliance will lead the future of the healthcare in the globally. Next, please. Thank you very much for your attention, and I believe that FinTech NCS will make the big contribution to the advancement of the healthcare. Thank you.
I love the Global Academy, where you could do so much training in such a very interesting environment. All right, that's what Metaverse is. And wow, we are going to bring in the mannequin and NCS. Let's have it at our next workshop where our people can have hands-on. Thank you so much, Dr. John. We will now listen to what Dr. James Lee will share with us on the wonderful AI in healthcare. Over to you, Dr. James Lee.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for all your invitation, and I'm going to talk about like how AI can boost medical research and optimize clinical workflow. I'm on. Can you see my screen? No problem, right? Okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Let's try again. Share screen. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to stop. So today I'm going to talk about how AI can boost medical research and optimize clinical workflow. And I'm James Lee, and the professor of West China Hospital and the Associate Dean for Research for Sichuan University Pittsburgh Institute. So basically, this is the joint institute between Sichuan University and the University of Pittsburgh, and then built this engineering school in Chengdu. So it has been for 7 years, and so with these two positions, so basically I can connect the hospital with engineering side together and do a lot of innovative research. Okay, and myself received PhD degree in mechanical and in industrial engineering from Illinois, and then I joined Rutgers in 2011, and working as assistant professor in industrial engineering, and then working as a associate professor in the Department of Orthopedics in the medical school, and then I returned back to China and working with Sichuan University, West China Hospital, and the Sichuan University Pittsburgh Institute. Okay, that's my background, and the reason why I choose West China Hospital is very clear. It's one of the best hospital in China. Okay, and it has been ranked as number 2 for many years, and in terms of research, it's pretty strong in China and ranking number 1 for many years. Okay, and today, because I'm going to talk about radiology, hepatology, and orthopedics, and those specialties in West China Hospital are also highly ranked in China. And another information I'd like to share with all the audience, West China Hospital probably is one of the biggest medical centers in China, and we mainly serve the west part of China, and for about 200 or 300 million people. And so West China Hospital is not just one hospital. It has more than 10 directly managed hospital, plus probably around 400 or 500 affiliated like a hospital. So it's huge. Okay. And so the department I'm working in is really the biomedical big data center. So we have a lot of medical data, and the data resource is great. So we have like medical data, record data for all the hospitals, and behavior data, and also provisional level medical insurance data and the public health data. And our center also have a really cutting edge, high performance research computing facilities. Okay, very advanced one, and we spend a lot of money on that. And then we also have a great team. Okay, in very interdisciplinary research team in big data, bioinformatics, AI, epidemiology, and all, of course, the clinical side. Okay, we bring them together and working together, and we have already produced a lot of great paper and generated a lot of real impact to the hospital. And several months ago, we also started a joint lab with SenseTime, okay, to basically boost our research in AI healthcare. And I serve as the director from the hospital side, and SenseTime also has our own director. Okay, so in this platform, basically we bring in all kinds of data and into the system, and then we use those SenseTime, core AI facility. Okay, and then we build a lot of real application. We try to put in, really push those into the clinical environment. Okay, and so this is one example. So basically, we have SenseCare server in the hospital, and then we bring that to different department. And right now, we're working together and on many real applications. Okay, and that's basically the system side. And here is some example. So basically, the clinical research platform support multi-modality data annotation and high precision model training to assist the entire research workflow. The reason why we want to have this one, and we know AI research really need a lot of basically data labeling, and those data labeling is going to be very expensive, okay, because we need really a lot of experienced clinician get involved. And if we use manual labeling, and it's going to be really challenging, and I don't think any hospital can afford it. You cannot let full-time clinician and work on those labeling work for you. So what we are trying to do is using semi-automated labeling, and this is system, okay, the annotation system and labeling system really can help the doctor clinicians using their spare time and remotely to do the labeling work. And also the automated part can basically finish most of the tedious work, okay, and then doctor just using some of the basically correct some of the error and make it more accurate. And so that save a lot of time and create a lot of high quality and data labeling. That's very important for us. I believe it's also very important for other hospitals as well. Okay, and so here is some example. Okay, so the first one is how AI can boost the hospital research with multi-modality medical image. And my original expertise is really in hospital side. Okay, so we really working with SenseTime on this topic in many applications. Okay, and this is just one of them. Okay, for bone tumor surgical planning. Okay, this is a very challenging one, of course. Okay, what's the problem in tumor side? Okay, particularly in hospital-related tumor, bone tumor. Okay, first one problem is the pelvis shape, and the tumor shape is really irregular. Okay, and we don't have many experienced doctor in this specialty. In fact, okay, and for our hospital, no problem. But for those like small hospital and affiliated hospital, then don't. So what we are trying to do is to create a system for them to use. Okay, not just for our very experienced doctors. Okay, so we want to transfer this experience to them. Okay, what we're trying to do is we build this AI system to do the tumor segmentation. Okay, so we know the manual segmentation of those tumor boundary is difficult and also time consuming and efficient. So what we do is we bring those CT and MRI data of tumor together, and then we do the segmentation and we do the data fusion, and then we design the personalized plan, okay, for them, okay, and then we also design the personalized processes, okay, and then create a surgical plan. And the entire process is very complicated because it requires the interaction between in fact, among clinicians, radiologists, and engineers, okay? And usually, we don't have such kind of environment. Even in West China Hospital, it's the clinician is so busy, the radiologist so busy, and have to wait, the patient have to wait for months to get everything done. So getting all those people together is very complicated. And with this system, then we can really help and reduce the time. Okay, here basically what we have is the system. Okay, basically we can give we can show how this system works. Okay, so we can get this tumor segmentation very precise. And also have those bones, okay. And then we can ask them to, working together and collaborative way, and all those clinician, radiologist, and the engineer. Okay, that's based on the platform we have. Oh. Okay, let's see what's the difference between the conventional method and the AI-assisted bone tumor surgical planning. So this is a traditional workflow. Okay, we have to get the radiologist and orthopedics and then engineer working together, and then do the segmentation, then registration, then fusion, and then generate a 3D model, and then print. And the entire process could take a pretty long time. Okay, and it could, in fact, could be 2 weeks. Okay, let's see. But now with AI-assisted method, so basically the tumor segmentation, the bone segmentation, registration, and then the fusion, and then the model generation all become automated way. Okay, in minutes. Okay, and then what we need really is a 3D printing, and then the surgical planning part. Okay, and the entire process now become less than, I believe it's less than 30 minutes now. Okay. Here is another example, and we're also working on the liver part. Okay, the hepatology side. Okay, so let's see how AI can optimize the workflow for personalized liver pre-surgery evaluation and planning. Okay, and this is the current workflow. Okay, so what we have to do is a multi-phase data registration display, and then we have to do the intelligent lesion detection on virus phase, okay, and then we have to do the accurate lesion assessment, and then we have to do the analysis of the neural structure, and then we can create the reconstruction and the preoperative plans. Okay, that's basically what we need to do. And now, originally the workflow is a lot of back and forth and manual work, but now it's really become an automated way. And I'm going to give you a demo. Okay, this is a newer AI analysis. Okay, so basically we can figure out what kind of problem it has and which part has a problem. Okay, that's the newer AI analysis part. And then the right side basically is the neurosurgical planning part. So we can help the doctor create the surgical plan. Okay, and now let's see. Okay, how we can improve the efficiency and accuracy. Okay, originally, after we take the CT and we have to spend at least 30 minutes for the imaging diagnosis, okay, including the data registration and lesion diagnosis and quantitative lesion analysis, and then draft the report. And that for the neurosurgery planning part, then it takes more time. Okay, we have to do the manual extraction and the 3D construction of the liver and the blood vessel, and then the surgical plan and the evaluation part also take a lot of time. So in fact, the doctor, okay, the radiologist part, okay, we really short of the manpower. Okay, we have to let them working almost hopefully 996. Okay, so from 9 to 9, and in fact not 9 to 9 in hospital is more like 8, start from 8, and many doctors in China and then cannot go back home before in fact before 9. Okay, I'm supposed to get back home by 6, but it never happened. Okay, I have to spend a lot of additional time, and even for the weekend and the holidays. Okay, then have to work, and in order to satisfy the needs from the patient. And now what we can do is we only spend 2 minutes for the diagnosis part and 2 minutes for the neurosurgery planning part. So this time is really significantly reduced. Okay, and so yeah, that's the 2 cases. And right now we're still working together with SenseTime and develop the AI applications for many other clinical specialties. And we will also try to. In fact, there are too many needs, and we are short of manpower. So that's basically the current situation. So what we can say is this area, this AI in healthcare area is really booming. A lot of opportunities. Okay, and thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. James Lee. This is so amazing, and I'm sure our doctors as well as our healthcare leaders will be very, very keen to know more. So yes, NCS and FinTech Academy will be organizing a workshop for all of you to understand more and go deeper into each of these wonderful creations and research work that our wonderful Dr. James Lee and Dr. Zhong have gone through with us this morning. Now to switch on to the very, very fundamental customer journey side, we are going to look at how we actually do the rest of the day-to-day practical admin stuff. All right. So we have Timothy Kim, who is an expert in clinical solutions and sales, and he's going to tell us how he's going to show us we have efficient and effective way of doing scheduling, etc. Over to you, Timothy, from NCS.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Ko. Can you guys hear me okay?
Good.
Okay, fantastic. So, hi, I'm Timothy Kim. I'm the NCS healthcare lead from NCS. I joined about NCS 2 years ago. I think some of the fun things about me, I'm actually Korean too. 안녕하세요, Dr. John. So, yeah, and I'm a Korean living in Singapore. I think I study overseas. So I'm a bit of a what you call as a banana as well, right? So there's a lot of mixture in terms of me. And also I'm a male nurse, so that's another odd factor, right? So I don't look like typical oppa. I don't look like a typical nurse, but yeah, it is what it is, right? So today I'll be I picked the topic of the talking about the appointment scheduling optimization. In fact, I thought about what is kind of most recent interesting things that really grab the people's attention of how it's really helping the people on the ground, right? And then I think this topic is really applicable for this today's talk. So today, thank you, Dr. Lee and Dr. Jung, for covering the diagnostics and the AI aspects of the radiology itself. So I'll be talking a bit about, as Dr. Ko mentioned, overall operation itself on how it's helping the patient journey on overall things and how it's helping the hospital operation through the AI aspects of scheduling optimization, right? So, I mean, AI, as you know, it's nothing new. It's been around for ages. And then, there's many movies about the Terminators, how it's going to take over the world, etc. So there's a lot of talking, some topics around the AIs, right? It's really all about the how to make computer model and then make it really optimized and have minimal intervention from the human factor to make things life better. So I think as you guys have seen and heard, there's many forms and factors AI discussion that took place over the years, right? So things like, if you guys probably heard things like rule-based decision-making, statistics reasoning, machine learning, of course there's the AI, right? So all kind of interchange and the fuzzy in the boundaries in some aspects of it, right? But I mean, instead of just talking, I mean, how to make all these ideas, inventions to make it applicable. So I want to talk a bit about that today, right? So I don't have to emphasize too much on the current challenges that we have in the healthcare globally, as we all have faced. Know that there's a big challenge around the large geriatric population growth, not enough staff to go around, and with the current COVID situation added, I mean, you could see that there's even more challenges overall things within the healthcare, right? So how to tackle this and how to relieve some of the aspects of this, the overall overburden that we have put on the healthcare itself, right? So I'll just cover the proof in terms of the scheduling stuff, how this is actually helping some of the relief of the overall situation. Yep. So current challenges that we're facing as a business, right? Not currently now, let's look at the patient journey. I think the healthcare providers and then I think people who's outside joining here, who's not healthcare provider, also can relate to this patient journey, right? Typically, when you come to a hospital, you face this sort of journey. You have a doctor's appointment, but before you get to actually see the doctors, there's many aspects of the diagnostic stations and the journey you need to take before you can actually see the doctors. So for instance, you take the vital sign, go take EKG, go take get a laboratory, the lab to withdraw the bloods, urine, whatever it might be, and also get the radiology diagnostic. So one patient is actually already challenged to coordinate and then able to put the associate the right doctor to right patient, right resources, right machine. All these things are looked into it. So currently, it is done in the hospital by manual strict scheduling. It could be for the surgical procedures. It could be for the laboratory procedure itself. So it could be many factors, and then a lot of things are handled just by queue management system. That's not the most optimized way of handling these kind of things, right? So as you guys see, when you go into the hospital, you already typically expect, you'd be in a long wait, and it'd be very boring process, and you prepare for the whole day that it's going to be a tough journey, right? So we're trying to change the experience around these things, and we heard from the ground, this needs to be changed, this needs to be improved. Next slide, please. So just to show in terms of the how it looks, right? So as you can see, one patient, one resource is already challenging. As you can see, there's multiple resources, patients and doctors, and time gets added, how complex it can get in terms of the shuffling, how to optimize the best kind of things, right? So, so due to the fact that it's not optimized, whether patient A can finish the whole trip within 1 hour, it becomes 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, etc. Right? So this is around the how to really optimize altogether. Next slide, please. So part of this whole implementation, and then we're working with the client currently, is to utilize the enterprise scheduling optimization platform the NCS has, right? This is using the meta-heuristic algorithm, right, to looking at the overall available resources, etc., to put objective optimization through the system itself. So it's not to really improve it overnight, as we have to see how it's going to be make it more applicable. It's kind of learning process, right? So, I mean, an initial goal will be 40%, 70% until we hit the 100% optimization. I think the current goal and the current customer that we have, we're looking at the saving, the timing, waiting for the patient by 50% at least. So as you can see, how this can improve the overall patient journey experience. Also improve the hospital optimization, right? Workforces, right? So how this can help. So as we show this, this has actually created a great interest from the hospital side. I mean, as you can see, right? So who does not want to experience a better patient journey from the hospital side? Also, well, which hospital does not want to save and optimize their resources to the best way they can, right? Right. So that this is one of the main reasons we brought up this topic. Okay, next slide, please. So quickly, in terms of how this overall works, so I think the main workflow is not really different from different hospitals. So patient will submit their overall appointment request over the times through the portal or through the calls or whatever it might be. And then there will be a certain cutoff time. And then this will actually go into the appointment booking system currently already existing within the hospitals. And this will get pumped back into the appointment optimized station scheduling. And then it gets pumped back to the appointments booking system. So behind the picture, right, in terms of how this all takes place is that NCS data scientist team will work together with the hospital power users to really develop and come up with the model, optimization model that really works. So over the time, through this process, many reiteration of this process, get looked at it and how in terms of saving time, how it's optimizing. So initially, there'll be rules and the models that's created, as you'll see the 40%, and then through this repeatable process, they'll continue to achieve the better optimization. In the end of it, get to the very optimized state where it needs to be, right? So yeah, so this is to, and from the appointment side of it, I mean, they'll capture the appointment request, and then they also update in terms of patient optimized appointment time from the optimization system. So this will be the kind of overall workflow and how things are being optimized on the ground for the patient experience within the NCS project that we're doing for the Singapore, right? This is quite quick and very short and brief to not only cater for the clinicians, for the layman's term in terms of how to understand this overall enhancement optimization works. So if there's more questions and then details you like, and we could actually submit the question and we'll get to more details on next topic. Yeah. Thank you. I think this is all for me today.
Thank you very much, Timothy. I think that helps to set us in context of what we can do on a day-to-day basis. And we will now quickly do a round robin to get each and every one of you wonderful speakers to talk about what is your journey like? What are the efforts and challenges of implementing such innovation? And a very, very realistic question. So what are the ROIs of such innovation? How do you measure it? Okay, so maybe we'd like to start with Dr. James Lee. Dr. James, you want to talk about the efforts and challenges you face? Because we are going to do a workshop on design thinking. And we have got our very own Singapore trained from Stanford Biodesign and that is none other than Dr. Scott Wong. All right, so Dr. Scott Wong will be running the workshop in January, so stay tuned and look out for it. But I was asking that question on what is this journey and challenges, the pain points that brought about all this innovation. So can we hear from Dr. James, and after that, Dr. John might want to jump in.
Okay. In fact, I do have a lot of information to share. I was basically I was trained as an engineer, and then later I got the opportunity working in the medical school orthopedic surgery department, and for many years. And then after I become independent, and then I working in the engineering school and medical school. So the major problem for such kind of innovation is how to bring people with different background together. Okay, that's challenging. And the engineer has their own engineering thinking, and the clinician has a different source and knowledge and expertise. And even I would say the how then look at the world, then they are different. Okay, and they are like a reaction to the technology, business, and then they're all different. So bring them together and sit down and then talk, working on the same thing, and it's not easy. Okay, there are a lot of conflict. Okay, and so for me, is the how to get them together is one of the or get them have interest to the same topic.
Yes,
it's the first challenging.
Yes.
Okay, and then second challenging is make sure they can communicate with each other. Is the second challenge. Okay, and then after the work done, and how to evaluate and assess the whole process, it's a third challenging. And while I was in engineering school, it's one process. After I moved to medical school, it's another process. And so that's basically the most, and also get the product into the real workflow. It's also challenging. So we have to resolve those issues one by one. Okay, and then we have to be patient. Okay.
Indeed. Thanks. Yeah.
cannot
We
be
need
rushed.
a lot of champions, right? The
Yeah.
whole workflow, from all the way to the problem ideation, through the research, through the clinical trials, through the adoption, through the actual implementation. We need a lot of champions, and all of you out there, we're calling out to you. Let's do something together to benefit everybody here. Okay, let's hear from Dr. John. Let's hear about your journey and what kind of challenges. I think you're on mute. Yes, can you unmute yourself? Yes, we want to hear.
Thank you, Dr. Go. Yeah, I totally agree that the new technology can be a good solution for innovation. So as you know, applying innovation is very challenging. It is especially to the hospitals. I think the motivation and the participation are the most important. So in a hospital, as you know, doctors and the professors are very rigid to change. So usually I like to share our weak points concerning our clinical database, outcome analysis, or near miss or near accident situations, and discuss potential solutions with them. Doctors can be resistant to change, but most can be reasonable and accepting of the future values. So even if they do not agree, most are capable of logic. So technical advancement paired together with the participation can make the kind of cultural shift. The cultural shift. Culture of the single hospital or culture of the community or country is very important. I believe it's a proper time to change culture with the big wave of the digital transformation. When I was one example, when I was a hospital CEO, I did the almost $500 million US project to make the hospital centered healthcare cluster. Of course, I was faced with a big resistance. I should meet the several hundred people, so my hospital faculties, government person, Congress, and the businessmen. So the resistance, so somebody say, this size of the investment could have caused a financial crisis within hospital. And I continuously heard, don't do this crazy project and just give us more incentive, more money. But I persuaded them with the more detail. A couple of years later, it was already realized. A couple later, this cluster became recognized as a representative healthcare R&D business cluster in Korea. So recognizing for big value benefit and the excellent ROI, I believe. This is a good sample of how hard time pushing innovation can be how rewarded. So it can be worth it. So besides this, I made several challenges during my term of the CFO and the CEO of the hospital. I've experienced I have a drive, have my own know-how. Maybe I can share with you guys later. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes, indeed. We need the drivers. We need to be accountable for the finance part. And we've got to do a lot of lobbying. We want to hear from Timothy now. Timothy?
Yeah, Dr. Ko. Yeah, so I think to show the ground in terms of what's happening within Singapore, right? So what I hear from customers, or what I hear from the ministry, what I hear from the cluster, is that they want to tackle the real problem, right? So current pandemic COVID situation, they're actually, in terms of their thought process wise, let's put out the immediate fire first, right? And what are the real situation? What are the things that we really need to get the work going? How to relieve the workforce to make it better? So those are the things they're asking. And then innovation, in a way, I think cannot happen without having the benefit factor, right? So they're asking for automation, how AI will help. So, and also I think same time they're looking for partners to be really partners, right? So none sort of, because now we don't have the time to do certain things in terms of RP and all that. So they're looking at customers, looking at us to form a strategic partnership, push things faster, and also look at what are the real benefits that we are achieving from this AI automation, right? So that's actually meaningful to them. So in terms of our business, we're spending a lot of effort in those areas. I mean, how to take care of the real situation, how to bring about the benefits to the AI aspects of it, plus, how to work with them directly to shorten some of the overall process to address the pandemic situation. Yeah.
Indeed. So, like Jim has said this morning in the opening address, that there's always this golden triangle, iron triangle, all right, of quality of healthcare. And then our surgeons, our medical doctors, our healthcare leaders are all scrambling to ensure that quality. But then that triangle also includes the accessibility part and the affordability part. And today we are going to look at, especially with this COVID-19 thing, we're going to look at how our people are all scrambling to meet this this iron triangle issues, and how they have been successfully making a use case out of it. And we haven't heard actually from this promising young man, all right, who is a medical doctor as well as a health entrepreneur, but he is now doing data analytics and all these wonderful AI projects that emerges in our Ministry of Health. All right. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Scott Wong, who is a medical doctor and currently practicing in internal medicine at NUH and MOH. So during this, pandemic period, he has contributed a lot to special projects like the ART, as well as some of the software that is needed. So we were talking about benefits and all, and then he's going to give us this extra exciting title of Money or Life. Over to you, Scott.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And today the topic really is money or life, and can people afford to be healthy both during COVID, but more importantly after COVID. And as you can see, I'm not only I work in the medical sector, and actually I'm on call. We'll be going to treat COVID patients later. But because I happen to do a lot of like innovation work both within and outside the ministries, I applied some of these things in the pandemic, where a lot of things are actually disrupted. So you have like almost like the government coming in heavy-handed to do things like supply antigen rapid test kits, for example. And of course, you have much better implementation because you have political will. So one of the things that I saw that, with Perfect Play, I was able to deploy software for antigen rapid tests. That means if the government was able to supply antigen rapid tests, I can develop the software, deploy it to like 500,000 people a month in a matter of actually weeks. And so this is actually what is already technically possible today. And I'm sure there are many, many technological solutions to collect data. But the problem is, when it comes to the finances, right, everything kind of works if it's cheap and subsidized. If you don't have $1 billion budget, of the $1 billion cost, things can go well. But what about non-COVID tests? If you think about in the future where people do blood tests or people want to do things like glucose tests, things like that, how do we actually have these things? And that brings to mind the fintech and healthcare, where fintech can be one way to do it. So, I mean, if we fast forward, the short messages are that healthcare financing is very important, and perhaps we can look at the patients themselves, not just from a medical perspective, but also whether they can afford it. How do they view the cost of the disease? And of course, being a medical doctor, I have to constantly remind myself, health isn't just healthcare. Having collaborations with other people, both in not just like fintech in the data science area, but especially regulators all the way down to the engineers, the tech people, and just patients. Health is much bigger. And everybody really has to work together, not just on a common vision, but to not just talk about it, but actually work together and do things together. And of course, I think that fintech being one of the rising stars not only affords people better financing, but actually it's a much better platform to collect data and also provide accessibility to healthcare. So maybe it's a bit easier if we think about it from a patient's perspective. So during the COVID pandemic, a lot of people with COVID were workers. And for example, one of the migrant workers was telling me that his wife was pregnant at home in Dhaka in Bangladesh. And actually the husband was a construction worker and the wife was a cleaner. However, for them, the most important thing besides COVID was that the wife actually couldn't afford to travel to the free antenatal clinics, the pregnancy clinics, and the husband couldn't send money back. So, these actually creates a lot of artificial problems where they say, hey, doctor, I have COVID and I can't remit salary. I don't have a salary. How do I care for my wife? What do I tell her? So these are actually real life situations, particularly if you look at Asia, Southeast Asia, big land masses, and just the money is there, but the fact that it cannot be transported to the right people at the right time already causes problems. And as Jim was saying at the start, actually there's a huge correlation between health and wealth. And the iron triangle is quality, affordability, and accessibility. And that's often a very healthcare perspective. But if we look at the other way around, the moment we don't actually care about health, the productivity falls and people actually can't even get basic income, for example. The wife cannot afford to give up her job for a day, or if you have diabetes, you need to take time off. That's already a direct cost in productivity. And for most of us, especially around the world, or maybe in certain parts, even in Indonesia, for example, your life expectancy and your GDP per capita has a very good link. But this is very important because when we talk about healthcare from Singapore, we need to look outwards. And actually in many areas, there's a poverty trap. So if you look to the right, you already have low levels of education and healthcare for those who are poor. And as a result, they have low productivity. But then that leads to lower savings and lower investment into their health. And actually, what we realize around the world is that while we can talk about chronic diseases, digital health, AI, right? But simple things like healthcare, just the cost alone, is pushing about 100 million people into poverty. And every time they have just simple things where they have like a cough or pneumonia or COVID, or even just saying that, hey, actually I have diabetes, then suddenly this additional healthcare cost already makes about 1 billion people a year face financial catastrophe. So just to summarize, as a doctor, there are actually a lot of fintech, rather financial and healthcare problems, and this can be summarized into 5 main points. And the first thing is that healthcare is actually going to be very expensive and less affordable, because the cost of healthcare is rising much higher than your salaries, and we are also aging. So just a very interesting stats, right? Like currently the healthcare cost in Indonesia is what it is, but 65% of the people are below the age of 35. So by the time you reach 30 years later, you actually have those same people being 65 and below. And the cost is actually going to rise much higher than what it is now. So we know that the healthcare is going to be extremely expensive in aging. How do we afford it? And secondly, the healthcare costs actually extend a lot beyond treatment. So we talk about, what's the ROI of, let's say, artificial intelligence machine? But if you don't factor into account that the people need to travel to another place, or AI actually has cost savings because you do not need to travel to the doctor. You can have an AI person already just read and give you a report through telemedicine. That's much better. And how do we allow many of the rural populations to have access to the AI? That would have a lot of ROI that is already not calculable now. And 66% of Southeast Asia still lives in the rural population. How do we get the current technologies to them? That's a very major challenge. However, one of the things, like what Tim was saying, a lot of it is done manually. And manual systems are not only inefficient, but we don't have a lot of predictive value to it. And if we have systems that can predict the unpredictable costs, we are actually able to mitigate a lot of the costs or even find people before we incur those costs, right? So unfortunately, much of Asia still suffers from lack of screening, and they only come to us when they have problems. Do we have algorithms that can predict these things beforehand? And again, for ROI, a lot of the proportion of healthcare is out of pocket. So if people have to pay, they don't tend to want to pay for these things. And this is a lot of economic factors as well and political factors as well. But one of the things I thought that was close to my heart was that when you think about ROI and the way healthcare is being reimbursed today, a lot of it is actually linked to a business model that is fee for service. You use the system, then you pay for it. But a lot of these technologies can actually be linked to outcomes, and healthcare costs should be linked to outcomes. So right now, the biggest problem that we face when we talk about all these big data and stuff, there's just no data, and data collection is very, very, very difficult, or is limited to hospitals. We hardly ever collect data from the communities where it matters most. So the idea, just a summary, is can fintech lead to better health? And perhaps it's easier just to give a one-page summary, where I think we were talking about better digital financial solutions. That's the most direct ones, where people can crowdfund to pay for their diseases, or even have better accessibility to insurance. For most people, we still don't have an insurance plan, actually. And for example, the patient in Bangladesh could actually afford a very simple insurance bought by her husband who's in Singapore. That's just one example in real life. But two, you can also leverage on a lot of healthcare delivery channels. So certainly things like telehealth, e-prescriptions, digital health, they are very healthcare focused. But how about offline delivery of medications and services, like through Grab or Gojek? Or how can we even allow people to plan, their bus trips, their financial trips, or even save money such that they can even afford these scheduled telemedical things? So those things are going towards the finance and operations side of the house. And very importantly, fintech actually are leaders when it comes to mobile wallets, digital IDs. They're definitely way more advanced. And in terms of cybersecurity, they're probably way more advanced than the healthcare will ever be. So information accessibility, and what I like is actually, can we determine healthcare outcomes by analyzing non-healthcare data? There's a lot of data there, right? Like for example, in Walmart, they were able to predict whether people were pregnant just based on their healthcare purchases. Can we also do that, given that fintech is on the rise in many parts of Asia? Can we predict healthcare outcomes and usage? So again, that comes to the end. And one of the things I hope is that healthcare financing can be patient-centered. And on top of that, we need to really collaborate all around. And of course, fintech can be one of those platforms that is already on the rise. Can we just use that to extract data while also allowing people to afford healthcare? Yeah, so that's all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent summary and excellent pointers that Scott has done, because we talk a lot about technology. We talk about how important it is to have quality healthcare. And there you go. You actually need data-driven decision making and evidence. All right. So to empower us to make data-driven decisions and success stories of such use cases, we are going to organize an innovation workshop. So at NTU, where I've been teaching for 17 years, we do have such courses running that is Skills Future funded. And you might want to lock in these dates in case you want to join us to continue this conversation. That's on the 10th of January. We will focus on artificial intelligence and machine learning. 22nd January, we are focusing on fintech innovation. Thanks to the support, the wonderful support of NCS and our wonderful sponsors, we are also able to organize one on a Saturday, 22nd January. All right. So please keep these 3 dates in your calendar. If you cannot join us on the 10th or on the 27th January, do join us on 22nd January, a Saturday again. And we are now opening Q&A to the floor. So if you have any questions, bring them on. All right. You can ask your questions through the chat, or you can send in your questions. We are waiting. And while we are waiting, let us quickly jump on this opportunity to tap on the brains of our panelists. I know it is 11 o'clock. If you have to run back and do your work, leave it on. We will still be here for the next 10 minutes. So do let us know what questions you have. Otherwise, I will take the privilege of doing the questions. I'll give you a minute. Okay, while we are waiting for the questions to come in from the floor, I want to ask questions of our panel. So, what is the next big thing? What are you going to focus on for healthcare to be enabled by and empowered by technology? So the next big thing. All right, we will go round robin again, or you just jump in and start speaking if you want to. Unmute and start speaking. What is the next big thing that you see we are going to have got to do for the benefits of healthcare using technology? Anyone?
Maybe I could jump in, Dr. Ko.
Yes, please, Timothy.
I'll just speak from the academic way, but in terms of what we're doing now, right? So in terms of patient journey, we're looking at actually overall technologies and things are in silo, right? There's many good solutions, many good devices, remote tools and monitoring devices are also available. So from our journey in terms of the future of the healthcare from the NCS perspective, we're actually trying to form a patient journey for the elder care, home care, putting together all these different things, right? Different technologies, different way of monitoring home care, fall prevention, whatever that might be. We're actually coming out with a platform that could encompass all this and make this make sensible to patient and make sensible to caring providers. Yeah, so that's our current key focus in this area, to make sense of putting the technology in the sense of the patient journey, and that's sensible to the patients and also to the clinicians. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's the future me, right? All of us will need that. Okay, what about Dr. John?
Yeah, I think the clinical lead, the care model, new care model, whenever necessary, new care model can leverage technical advancement. I know as a medical doctor, I know the technology is beyond my imagination. So most important thing is what we need to make improvement to our the healthcare service to our patient in hospital environment, for patient safety. So we can look for best technology. I think we can find every technology to apply to the hospital. So necessary, what we will do, what we would like to make change is more important, and the technology can do everything.
Fantastic. hear your perspective, Dr. James Lee.
Okay. From my perspective, I would say, in fact, those AI and medical robotics is going to be used in the hospital side and help the doctor to do. Right now, in fact, many hospitals start to use that, but I imagine more and more like a medical robotics technology is going to be adopted by the hospital, and basically what we're going to say is maybe in 20 years, so all the doctors, all the surgeons is going to use those technology in their clinical routine work. Okay, that's what I can say. Right now, it's just like we talk about it, but in clinical environment, it's still very sparse. Okay, not a daily like activities. Okay, not common enough. Okay.
Yes, I think we do need to create that awareness so that everybody will jump on board, because really, I think everyone is concerned. It's just that, sometimes people are very cautious or people are not even aware. And that's why, thanks to NCS, we are having this webinar now so that more people will be aware that actually the technological affordances are here. And we can do more. We definitely can do more, and we want to do more. Anyone else want to jump in, Scott, on the technology, the next big thing? Yes.
Yeah, actually, I'm more a fan also of not only empowering patients through data that come from the community, but what I like is actually empowerment of elements traditionally outside healthcare. For example, just simply outside doctors' circle, empowering the nurses and allied healthcare professionals is already a very small subset, but it's already a big win. And also to connect very simply a lot of hospital-based systems to like community-based systems. Things like your blood pressure machines can be the data can be transferred to the hospitals. That would be really big. But a lot of it is also new financial models, new ways of thinking, and new ways that people can pay for services. That would actually allow a new class of treatments that even people on the street can afford. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, that will allow us to afford all this innovation. Yeah.
Fintech. Fintech is the answer. And we could tell you how we can use fintech, because now fintech is financial technology, right? So we use it in payments, we use it in financing, trade financing, we use blockchain to track, from the company all the way down to the hospitals. All right, we do financing, but there's so much more that are available and they are untapped. InsurTech, for example, is here, but are we ready to use? All right, so we still need to do a lot of education. All right, and talking about education, back to where your specialty is, I was so impressed by your Global Academy. So you want to tell us a little bit more about how hospitals and healthcare leaders are ready to embrace that kind of metaverse and simulation training. Yes, Dr.
Okay. Traditionally, hospitals are considered as an unfamiliar and a fearful place for patients. So how do we change that? By offering patients the opportunity to visit a virtual hospital before their clinical procedures. By making the hospital familiar and a less fearful place, we may be able to help reduce their stress and anxiety level significantly. So for example, before surgery, we could guide patients through their surgical procedures to have for better understanding and to prepare them for what lies ahead. So a better understanding could lead to better compliance, which in turn could lead to a kind of better outcome. So help patients feel comfortable and make them think that they made the right surgeon choice. So just imagine, so doctors being able to take patient in an observational journey with the aid of the clinical twin. Clinical twin is very important. When the patient have experience in virtual environment of clinical twin, when they enter the real situation, their fear level is getting significantly lower. So they could go to operation theater or the intensive care unit weeks before they must, with the people treatment support, is by kind of the healthcare focused metaverse. And the surgeon's perspectives, conceptual change to a virtual operation room with the interactive capacity for multidisciplinary clinical service means an effective space for patient education, student and young doctor education, nurse education. Many missing components or weak point for clinical excellence, medical education, patient safety, and the customer satisfaction could be solved or improved through the extended reality and the metaverse concept. It offers a sense of realism.
Indeed, indeed. And actually, the questions are flowing in. So let me prioritize. We've got one question here that asks, can you explain how the development of health technology in the future is related to mental health? All right, I guess this question is asking because of the increase in the number of people suffering from the COVID-19. So what are we doing about mental health? That's a question from the floor. Anyone?
Oh, I can answer this question because we are working on this type of problem now. In fact, there's several experts. Mental problem is not it's not just the mental problem. It could affect the many like about chemical index, okay, in the body. And right now, what we are doing is we try to use those technology to figure out how to accurately diagnosing the problem, because just by the talking, by like visual observing, it's not accurate enough to differentiate one problem with another problem. So we would like to we'd like to incorporate many other measures to give precise or diagnosis. That's the first thing. And second one is we'd like to offer the help through a new technology. Like in fact, we just hire several NLP experts and develop those chatbot, and we also try to develop those multi-agent technology to basically let the professional from different specialty to working together to provide more accurate diagnosis and help to the patient. And this is what we're working on. Okay.
Very useful. This chatbot idea has now grown by many folks, right? Initially, it's just a silly chatbot on the website for FAQs, but now you find that with the neural networks, it is possible to empower this such that the AI can do all that Dr. James Lee has commented. We want to see more of those, and in fact, personally, I'm doing an AI buddy for preschool children and for those who are elderly, because they need all the conversation and companionship. So that helps for mental wellness as well. Yes, anyone else want to jump in from the panel before we address the next question?
Maybe I'll just chip in. Cool. So one of the things we did notice last year was that with COVID, there are a lot of people that are also socially isolated. And what we realized was that on top of the technologies, we also wanted to have an understanding of the person's social circumstances. So for example, just give you an idea, there are many people who are out of a job, and certainly those things will precipitate a lot of mental stress. So if you're already depressed, it's not going to help. So what we did was that we wanted to understand the social circumstance and pair a social intervention on top of what a medical person would give. So instead of just saying everybody needs cognitive behavioral therapy, right? If you obviously are more depressed or stressed because you've lost your job, we got to actually get you the financial and social help to find a job, or at least to tide over the next few days to months. Because the last thing we want to do is ask people to pay for a mental health helpline or service when the main stress is because they've lost their job. That would be causing them more stress. So understanding the social circumstances is quite useful. And there are many circumstances that have to be more culturally appropriate as well. For example, would chatbots work for the illiterate migrant worker population? Maybe not as much as if you are talking about stressors in school children or university students. Yes, then your chatbots will be much more effective. So often we try to pair the social circumstance and the technological literacy along with the actual technology and the AI. So that's how we are trying to stratify our patient groups and to achieve the best ROI.
Thanks, Scott. You hit it on the nail, because we have got to see multiple perspectives, and culture is one thing which takes a long time, all right? And that growth mindset we need to try to convey and develop in our people. Now, we are really running out of time. I will just pick one last question before I invite Timothy to close. And we've got this very interesting question here. What is the biggest challenge you face moving forward with AR, VR assisted tech? Because do you think it's going to really work, or have you got better solutions coming up? AR, VR assisted technology.
So we are applying some AR, VR in the hospital for in the frontline medical personnel, nurses, doctors. We are providing the virtual environment to minimize the stress level, kind of meditation or healing, because nobody can travel overseas anywhere. So it's a very simple model to providing the faculty mental service. So we also provide the VR, AR in hospital simulation center. So to make it value expand, to make the medical persons recognize it is very helpful to clinical setting. So we need to share value together with others. So in my presentation, as I introduced the Smart Hospital Alliance, I'd like to expand the value through the alliance so that we can make the value bigger and share it together. So the hospital in Korea or Singapore or the US, UK, they have some a little different cultural understanding or something. If we gather together, we can make a best model of how we can make R&D and how to apply this system. As you know, the digital system, digital therapy, or this kind of virtual environment, not only for using the head-mount display, everybody can enjoy, even their cell phone or notebook computer. It is very easy to spread the value to developing country as well. So the medicine and the medical device, it cost high, but this kind of system, we can very easily expand the value. The first thing, important thing is the proof of concept.
Yes, wonderful. Yes, that proof of concept will be the first step that we have to take. And I'm definitely going to accept your invitation to do the alliance thing. All right. I'm the chair of the Healthcare FinTech Alliance, and we have been running a lot of such innovation founders lab with the ASEAN countries. I'm going to see you after this. And last remarks from
together.
Yes, alliance. That's where we have esprit de corps. What about Dr. James Lee? Do you want any last remarks before we hand back to Timothy?
Sure. In fact, we also use the VR and AR technology to train our surgeons, and for like spine surgeon, and we basically using the system to help them to avoid the nerve and during the surgery, and I mean training session, okay, not real surgery, and then later then can get more sense during the real surgery and help them to avoid the problem, and that has been done. But the major problem what I have think is really the realistic issue, okay, and when you use the VR system, then still have like also much better than 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, but still the realistic issue is not not realistic enough, okay, and maybe then many other new technology is coming, and maybe after 5-10 years, then it's going to be much better than now, and then we are going to see more and more AR and VR technology going to be adopted in our real clinical applications. Okay.
Would love to see that in action. Again, we were going to invite you back to help us go into more details at the workshop. So the rest of you in the audience, I'm sure you have another long list of questions, but yes, we want to keep to our time, and we would like now to invite Mr. Timothy Kim from NCS to do the honor of doing the closure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ko. So today, really thanks everybody for contributing to overall story for the future of the healthcare. Definitely future is here, exciting times. Rather is the AR, VR, AI aspects of the radiology packs, the 5G robotics, all these things we've talked about, definitely here to stay. And we love to talk a bit more about it then later on when we have the chances. So hopefully this was a good add-on contribution to the application to what you guys looking at now, and hopefully this will help to plan out or think about what you can do for your own hospital operations or your own healthcare needs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Timothy. Thank you, everyone. Both the wonderful speakers we have, Dr. James Lee, Dr. Sanjong John, Timothy Kim, and of course, our dear Singapore, Dr. Scott Wong. All right. Thank you, all of you, the wonderful panelists, and thank you so much, the wonderful audience out there. We are actually here for you. And like Timothy said, the future is here. So let us continue this conversation under Alliance, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you very much, and thank you, NCS. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah.
You want a group shot, everyone?
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Let's take a group shot, everybody. Darren, are we ready for a group shot?
Hello, yeah.
Okay, turn on your video. Yes, come on, Mike, everybody else, Leah. Turn on your video and we have a group shot. And 2 thumbs up, 1 for the panelists, 1 for the wonderful organizers and audience. Everyone?
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you, Andros, and everybody else behind the scenes. All right, Mike, Leah, and all of you there. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.
Silakan Mbak Intan.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Surat. Tidak terasa waktu juga yang akan memisahkan kita. Terima kasih kepada para narasumber yang telah berbagi ilmu dan pengalamannya untuk kita semua. Terima kasih untuk para translator yang sudah membantu dalam acara webinar pada pagi hari ini. Acara webinar pada pagi hari ini sudah sampai pada sesi yang terakhir. Sebelum kita tutup acara webinar pada pagi hari ini, kita akan kembali melakukan foto bersama. karena mungkin tadi ada beberapa peserta yang belum bisa join bersama kami. Untuk itu kami persilahkan kepada Mbak Esta kembali mengambil gambar para peserta dan para narasumber yang berasal dari Indonesia. Silakan Mbak Esta.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Intan. Bapak Ibu, saya akan mengambil foto sebanyak 2 kali. Mohon bisa dinyalakan kameranya. Foto akan saya mulai. Mungkin boleh diangkat jempolnya. Oke, terima kasih. 1, 2, 3. Oke, 1 kali lagi. 1, 2, 3. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu.
Terima kasih Mbak Esta.
Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih Mbak Esta. Dengan demikian acara webinar series FTA pada pagi hari ini sudah selesai. Terima kasih untuk para narasumber dan para peserta semua yang sudah bersedia hadir dan mengikuti webinar pada hari ini. Sampai jumpa lagi pada webinar FTA sesi berikutnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat untuk kita semua. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih. Mas Pam, terima kasih.
Terima kasih dari Indo Event.
Di webinar selanjutnya.